It's amazing what you can find in these old homes. Here we found a photo of this happy couple that is totally in love and an angry student loan letter from the bank. Some things just never change. We're in San Francisco, standing outside an iconic row of Queen Anne Victorian homes. We're going inside one of these properties that is in the market for $3.5 million and is in total disrepair. The home has 5 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. We're gonna look at how I would approach restoring it and renovating it to bring it back to its original glory. My name is Karp. I'm a general contractor and CEO of a design and build company in New York City called Bolster. This stretch of 7 Queen Anne Victorian houses is known as the Painted Ladies because of the distinctive coloring of their facades. I found out that these homes were painted in white originally because people like to make them look like they were made from stone. The people that moved into this district started experimenting with painting their homes with many different colors. This led to what is known as the colorist movement in the late 1960s and basically created a wave of expressionism which can still be seen throughout the entire city. In order to understand the colors that are a key part of this Painted Lady, I brought a color wheel. Color theory can be understood in very simple terms. You either have complementary colors, split complementary colors, or you have contrasting colors. So if we look at this facade, we will see that we have this yellow base color in different hues. The exact opposite complementary color is found in some of the doors and in some of the trim, which is actually quite fun to discover. The very interesting part is the facade of this property, which is very, very Queen Anne. The bay window is protruding, which is very typical of the Queen Anne style. You will also see that the windows are flanked by this columnette that give it a very symmetrical feel, are also complemented by the column here at the main entrance. We also have some recessed panels that are flanked by 2 little squares on the side, and we have some accent colors that make the whole thing pop out. The following floor has a little balcony with balustrade, and it also has brackets in the shape of a fan that mirror the fans in the double pane window at the entrance. As we go up, we will be moving towards the gabled roof. The gabled roof has the finials and decorative swag that give the property that cheery feeling. And the dentil gives it the feeling of a gingerbread home. If one were to build a facade like this from scratch, one would start from the inside out. First, work on the insulation and the protection of the envelope of the property, and then you would build out the structural elements. This can be done by adding details that are also in plaster, but interestingly, they can also be carved from timber. The timber would need to be of very hard quality, maybe a second growth cedar, but definitely you would not want to skimp in the creation of the facade. The person that buys this house cannot be faint of heart, has to have a true commitment for the preservation of this landmark property. If you were to clean this facade, the last thing that you would do is power wash it. According to landmarks, you need to get really big sponges and very mild soap, and you need to gently give it a wash. There are specialist companies that are able to do this, and you would actually have to hire them. The approximate cost of the maintenance of this facade every year would be about north of $5,000. The actual restoration of the facade would involve all the exterior millwork. So you would have to look at it as a complete package with the exterior door, the sash windows. Just restoring the facade would be north of $1.2 million. All right, so the house does need a lot of work. What I can see at first glance is the owner has already done some exploratory work and probing, I am absolutely honored to be inside. It's one of the epitomous examples of Californian Victorian architecture. It's basically got an influence of its environment. It is built with redwood timber that comes from the forest nearby, and that kind of timber would be basically impossible to get nowadays. It's very sturdy and it's allowed the home to remain intact over the years. And I see a lot of the original details that are absolutely wonderful. At the back, there's an area that is boarded up that would have been a stained glass window, and the purpose would have been embellishment but also bringing light into the property. It's super important for anybody that purchases this property to be able to either recreate or restore a stained glass window that would fulfill the function of color and the function of bringing light into the property. Notably, we have the Queen Anne staircase with the beautiful balustrade, which is still intact. There's a playfulness that is found throughout. We don't see curves, we don't see columns. We actually see a geometric game. This interior detail, notably, is mirrored in the outside of the home in the facade. Even though these homes were modest in nature, they still retain a lot of beautiful features that make them very livable. What I would do if I was thinking of a continuation of the design would be a repair of all the walls for sure, since this is a restoration, but let's be real, it's a gut renovation. So we're having to do a lot of structural work, mechanical, electrical. As such, we have free reign in deciding what we would do with the interior millwork package. And importantly for me, I would look for that visual continuation of the exterior into the interior. I am always super amused and super excited to walk through the property. I just want to go to every single room at every opportunity. Let's see, here we have the 80s, and usually a walkthrough on a property that needs a restoration, it's a walk through the eras. We have seen the Victorian entrance, but now we can see that here we have a mishmash of styles. I would definitely get rid of the mirror details, but I would look to keep that tub. If I wasn't able to reuse it, I could repurpose it and put it in the garden. As I make my way through the first floor, my instinct is to go to see this beautiful bay window. A Queen Anne bay window is overhung, but also interestingly is hexagonal. So here I'm standing in, I would say a third of a hexagon. And if you can see the shape, you will note that it mirrors the language of our balustrade and the light that we get truly as a material in this home. Light is also an architectural detail. When I look at these windows, they're beautiful, but I'm trained to look at the horrible part of it. Is it rotting? Can you open it? Does it align? You're really looking to see whether there's viability and functionality. Unfortunately, in this pink lady, we can see that we absolutely have to ditch the windows and replace in kind. What we're looking to preserve here, and if this was my home, would be the line of view. We can see that we have the park at the front. Also at the back, you have your private area. You also have a light well that goes through and through. Therefore, instead of having this itsy bitsy little room, in this case, I would actually look to blow up as much as I can structurally in order to create a fully, truly open space that gives me that wow factor of a San Francisco view. It is amazing to walk into the back of the room. When I see these beautiful lights and the kitchen at the back, I would definitely like to get rid of that sad little dark room at the back, open up the space and use the entire area as a very nice living area to maximize enjoyment of that beautiful San Francisco view. I am not afraid to say that a modern layout would be wonderful here because there's not much to preserve and we're preserving all of the exterior. The medallions here are plaster work, and in San Francisco there's companies and specifically a lady, Lorna, who replicates all the moldings from scratch. Now, a cast mold is sort of like an art form in and of itself. I think it's important that if you have medallions, you respect them, because there aren't many people that make them anymore. Because we're at the back of the property, we could get rid of that ugly deck and replace it with a very nice modern deck. And that would give us the flexibility of extending the kitchen area. So having a modern interior doesn't mean that you fully erase the existing beautiful parts of the home. Rather, it means that you're doing an integration of the details with a more modern layout. So now that we have 100% decided that this is going to be our public area for entertainment, we can go upstairs and explore the second floor and look to see whether that's going to be our beautiful private area where maybe we find a little bit more restraint. Coming onto the second floor, I can see something that is very common and distinctive of multi-family units. We can see that the banister is ending here, and there's a new wall that is apparently a new piece of sheetrock that creates the subdivision between the apartment below and the apartment upstairs. The banister does not have the same continuation. This is all part of the changes that the property suffered throughout the years. As I walk into the second floor, I'm immediately drawn again to the beautiful feature of the house, the bay window. Doing a little bit of detective work, I can immediately spot that this glass is very, very old. You can identify old glass because it looks like it's dripping. And this is just due to the way it was fabricated. It would definitely be the keeper in a window or in some other part of the home. One thing that you absolutely see in this second floor is color. You see the use of color coming through in the casings, and you see the use of color in some of the ceiling. That's an absolutely 100% San Francisco thing to do in these Victorian homes. Multi-family units are oftentimes subdivided in weird ways, so it's important to try to establish which wall was actually an original wall, because those walls may be structural or retaining walls. The door casings, which seem to be original, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 door casings, and that makes us understand how the space would have been used. If I was doing a renovation right now of this property, I would definitely look to subdivide it and create the bedrooms here. As an option A, I would do a floor-to-floor bedroom depending on how I want to use the house. As an option B, you could opt for a subdivision where you have a beautiful space and a studio or a guest bedroom at the front of the house. As we walk through this floor, we can see there's a kitchen and a gas stove here. There is absolutely no need to keep this. This would make a super beautiful primary bathroom. I can definitely see a freestanding tub. We already have all the plumbing. It would be very easy to make it. And of course, you could bathe looking into the outdoors. There's 2 bathrooms at the back of the house. You could either keep one and keep it as a guest bathroom, or you could keep this primary bathroom with the tub, a space to shower, and have your toilet outside, separated from the primary bathroom. So now we covered the second floor, and we will go upstairs to the third floor, which is also known as the attic. I can see that the beautiful staircase continues. The staircase here is actually painted white. The color makes it easier to see the relief and the intricate detail. It's also missing, this piece always kind of comes off, so that would have to be redone. There's this ugly box sitting here at the bottom. The box will be actually hiding the rest of the staircase that was kind of like tucked away in order to create the separation for the 2 units. That is very common to see in very high-end properties and in normal properties. With this layout, it's absolutely perfect. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. This is the cutest ever little room. Again, we see the use of color. We see a beautiful symmetry with these two doors, and we can see a cross section of the gabled roof. So we can see that the ceiling is sloped. We can see the support system. The original redwood that was used to build it is actually a very straightforward roof. So this room is the twin of the other room, and we still have those side-to-side doors. The main difference between the other room and this room is this historic landmarked window, and you can see the details that mirror the balustrade and that remind us that we're indeed in a Queen Anne historic home. Landmarks will make us restore and preserve this window, likely to be replicated in kind. And it's interesting that when you encounter a window of this era, oftentimes you can see the pulley mechanism. You have weights that keep the window down or up. In addition to this triplex, there's going to be a separate unit, which is in the ground floor. So now we're going to walk downstairs and go and check it out. We're in the ground floor of the property right now. At the front, we have the garage doors, and at the back, we have the doors that go out into the garden. While this space may not look like much, it will certainly become incredible once it's been renovated. The plan at the moment is to extend this area by digging down, underpinning, and adding structural support in order to turn this into the second unit. Because we're in the underbelly of the Pink Lady, we can see everything that is hidden everywhere else. If we take a look at the structure of the ceiling, we will see the crisscross that was used at the time in order to support in between the beams. And we can also see the redwood beams that are kind of keeping the property upright. Because this is a gut renovation, this will likely be replaced with other structural elements that support the load of the property. The unit will have a lot of flexibility. It's really a blank slate. My suggestion would be to use sliding doors in order to give the space a lot of flexibility. This will be a very exciting project, and it will actually make the home compliant with San Francisco's regulations. The first thing I would do would be to protect the envelope of the house. And secondly, change the garage doors into a double panel door. And quite possibly, if I wasn't able to reuse the antique glass upstairs, I would certainly incorporate them into the doors down here. I would also try to add more light into the back so that this truly becomes a very habitable space. We're already digging down and we're already playing with the foundation. So making these changes to give the space more light is really not so onerous. We also found a salvage door that strangely is pink. This might have been one of the colors that gave this painted lady its name, Pink Painted Lady. And we also have found a lot of wallpaper. Now, the wallpaper is highly likely not original, but it's also very old wallpaper and helps to tell the story of the evolution of the property. I've been told by locals that prior to being a garage, this area was used for the carriages for the horses. That would certainly be a very interesting and cute fact. There's the opportunity to revitalize the garden and do a little bit of landscaping. This is a project that I always recommend is done over time so that you can really enjoy getting it to the spot that you want to get it to. We have a deck that extends over the 3 floors, likely to be replaced. It's old and rickety, but it also provides access into the outside. Interestingly, the back of the house is very, very plain, in contrast to the intricacy of the front facade. The back of the houses, if they're not in plain view, are usually deregulated from landmarks. So homeowners are able to do what they want with them. We see that we have the overhanging bay window, traditional for the era and specifically for Queen Anne, with very restrained, succinct details and brackets at the top, and a flat roof. At the top, we see the gable roof from the attic. On the ground floor, there's a door that leads into the back of the house. And we can see that strangely, the knob is really far down. It's very Alice in Wonderland. And I wonder if there's a mystery here because the keyhole is actually the right way up. So if any of you can decipher this mystery, please let me know. In conclusion, the home is on the market for $3.5 million. The restoration of the facade and the doors and windows would be between $1.2 and $1.3 million. And I estimate that the entire renovation, including mechanical, electrical, the underpinning, and all the new structural work, as well as the interior millwork, would be north of $2 million. Therefore, the renovation for this home, the proper restoration that it requires, would actually be north of $3.5 million and probably up to $5 million. The Painted Ladies are unique properties, and this is a fantastic opportunity for someone that wants to continue with the life of the Victorian tradition. The homeowner that is putting this home for sale went through a process to really identify the aspects of the home that would be preserved or that would be restored. For the right family, this is an excellent opportunity to live in a fantastic, architecturally important home. The first floor of the triplex is beautiful. It can have end-to-end light, and it can have a very modern interior. The second floor can provide flexibility in the number of bedrooms for different types of families. And the top floor, the attic, is absolutely perfect. It's a jewel as it is, and it can be a flexible space either for reflection or for guests, and it's absolutely perfect in its proportions. In a complementary way, the units at the bottom can really be a beautiful space for the right person to live with a lot of flexibility. Let's remember that the property already has planning permission. Therefore, whoever buys the property would either have to implement those plans or file for new plans that would be convenient for them. The most important takeaway element for me is that there's a lot of makers in San Francisco that take a lot of civic pride in the work they do, not only for themselves, but for the people around them. I met fascinating people when doing research for this series. Skeeter Jones, who makes facades from scratch. I met Bob Buckner, and I spoke to Ina Selholm. All of them are fascinated and dedicated to the preservation of Victorian homes. Bob opened my eyes about color. He has consulted in painting over 24,000 homes. A lot of them have been in San Francisco or in the Bay Area. His color designs have been copied 3 or 4 times over. And what dawned on me is that there has been one single person that has been designing the colors of San Francisco. So when we think about San Francisco and we think about color, we're thinking about Bob, because out of his creativity and imagination, we see a wealth of color schemes all around the city.